We talk a lot on this channel about locking down your devices, protecting your data and checking what your apps are allowed to access. But this phone takes a much more physical approach. This is the Oukitel WP500 Ultra, and with a flick of the switch on the side, Oukitel says it can cut off the cameras, the microphone and GPS, not just through a software permission, but at a hardware level. Oukitel sent me over this to test, and today I'm going to see what actually happens when that privacy switch is turned on. We'll also test the thermal camera, the huge battery, the rugged design, the rear camping light, and whether this is actually useful or just another rugged phone gimmick. Let's get into it. Starting with the unboxing, the presentation is very practical and straight to the point. Inside the box, you get the WP500 Ultra, the paperwork, the cable, and a 45-watt charging plug. The first thing you notice when you pick it up is the size. It is big, chunky, heavy duty, and it immediately feels more like a field tool rather than a regular everyday smartphone. That size is important because it gives Oukitel room for the 10,000 mAh battery, thermal imaging hardware, rugged protection, and the extra utility features. But it also means this is not going to be for everyone. Looking around the Oukitel WP500 Ultra, this is very clearly built as a rugged phone first. You have the reinforced looking corners, the thick body, the textured back, the large camera area, the rear camping light, and of course the physical privacy switch on the side, which is the main reason this phone stands out. The design is not subtle. This is not a slim, lightweight glass phone, and it isn't trying to be. Oukitel lists it at 19mm thick, and it immediately feels more like a heavy-duty field tool rather than an everyday smartphone. But that chunky size is exactly what allows them to pack in a massive 10,000 mAh battery, the thermal imaging hardware, a camping light, and serious drop protection. The trade-off is simple. You give up a slim pocket profile, but you gain a device that survives a job site and won't need charging for days. The main reason this phone stands out is this privacy switch. Most phones give you software controls. You can go into settings, turn off camera permissions, microphone permissions, and location permissions for different apps. That is useful, but you are still trusting software. Oukitel says this switch takes a different approach. They describe it as a physical privacy kill switch that cuts off the cameras, microphone, and GPS. I'm not opening the phone and testing the circuit board, so I can't personally verify the internal hardware design. But I can test what happens in normal everyday apps when the switch is flipped. So let's put it to the test. First, the camera. With the privacy switch in the normal position, the camera opens as expected. I can take a photo, switch modes, and use it like a normal phone camera. As soon as I flip the switch, the phone displays a message saying entered anti-leakage security mode, recording, camera thermal imaging and location disabled. Let's see what happens when I try to use the camera. The camera app opens briefly, immediately closes again, and the phone displays camera is disabled in secure mode. Next, the microphone. The voice recorder app works normally and I can record audio without any issues. This is the microphone test with the switch off. This is the microphone test with the switch off. I then flip the privacy switch on and try exactly the same thing again. This time, as soon as I open the voice recorder app, the phone displays the message, "Recording is disabled in safe mode." And if I try pressing the record button anyway, I get exactly the same message again. Finally, location. With the privacy switch off, Android shows that location services are enabled. As soon as the switch is activated, location services are turned off automatically. So, from a privacy point of view, the switch is doing exactly what Oukitel says it should. A physical switch doesn't replace good digital privacy habits or a solid VPN. But before putting your phone on a meeting table or walking into a secure work area, being able to simply flick a switch for immediate hardware-level security is brilliant. But privacy isn't the only reason this phone stands out. Because while most rugged phones focus on battery life and durability, the WP500 Ultra also includes a built-in thermal camera. And honestly, this ended up being one of the most interesting features to test. Before we start, one thing to note: secure mode also disables thermal imaging. So I've switched the privacy mode back off. Now, this isn't X-ray vision, it doesn't see through walls, and it doesn't magically reveal hidden objects. What it does do is show temperature differences, and that can reveal things your eyes would normally miss. To show exactly how thermal imaging works, I put a hot drink in a mug next to a bag of frozen peas. The result is pretty dramatic. The mug lights up bright yellow right up to the level of the hot water, while the frozen peas show up as dark blue. It's a really simple test, but it immediately shows what thermal imaging is doing. Hot objects stand out, cold objects fade away. One test I was particularly interested in was checking some of the tech around the house. I pointed the thermal camera at an internet router and a plug socket, and both immediately showed up areas generating noticeable heat. Now, that doesn't automatically mean something is wrong, because electronic devices naturally generate heat. But it does show how quickly thermal imaging can help you identify where heat is coming from. For anyone who likes technology, networking, home servers or mini PCs, or electronics in general, I can actually see this being surprisingly useful. The most practical test was probably this window. I filmed a double window with one side open and one side closed. The outside temperature was roughly 20 degrees, and the difference was immediately visible. The open side appeared dark blue, while the closed side showed much warmer orange and red tones. If you're trying to spot drafts, cold spots, or heat changes around a room, this is where thermal imaging becomes genuinely useful. Then you have the rear camping light. In a dark room, garage, shed, or outdoor space, it gives you proper work light built into the back of the phone. Combined with the thermal camera and the large battery, this is where the WP500 Ultra starts to feel less like a standard rugged phone and more like something you would keep in a backpack, van, tool bag, or emergency kit. For the rugged testing, I kept this controlled. I'm not trying to destroy the review unit just for dramatic footage. I placed it on rough surfaces, got it dirty, gave it a splash, and did a controlled drop onto a safer surface. After those rugged shots, the phone was still responding, the screen was working, and I could still open the camera and thermal tools. That is the kind of ruggedness most people actually need, not a fake destruction test, but proof that it can handle normal rough use. Battery is one of the big practical reasons to buy a phone like this. Oukitel lists the WP500 Ultra with a 10,000 mAh battery, and it also supports 45-watt charging. A huge battery makes sense for outdoor work, thermal inspections, travel, long days away from a charger, or keeping it in a bag or vehicle as a backup device. For normal daily use, this is still an Android phone, so I checked the basics. Unlocking the phone easily with the fingerprint reader, opening apps, switching between apps, using the camera, opening the thermal tools, and playing video all felt smooth enough in my testing.
Come on, pretend like you're not the happiest you've ever been in your entire life.
The WP500 Ultra is listed with the Dimensity 8300 with 12 GB plus 512 GB or up to 24 GB plus 1 TB configurations. So on paper, this is not just a slow, rugged phone with a gimmick attached. I have left out gaming and benchmark footage because that is not really the story here. So, should you buy the Oukitel WP500 Ultra? I think this phone makes the most sense for a very specific type of person. If you want a slim, light, everyday phone for social media scrolling, this is probably not the one I would point you towards. But if you want a rugged phone with a huge battery, thermal imaging, a proper work light, and the standout feature, that physical privacy switch, for the camera, microphone, and GPS, then this is genuinely interesting. The privacy switch is what makes it different. Most phones ask you to trust settings. This gives you something physical that you can flip instantly. And after testing it with the camera, voice recorder, location settings, thermal camera and rugged shots, I can see who this is aimed at. It is for people who work outdoors, deal with equipment, like practical tech, or just want more physical control over what their phone can access. I'll leave the Oukitel WP500 Ultra link and any discount code in the description. Let me know in the comments, would you actually use a real privacy switch on your phone, or is this overkill? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.